myself again.
Good evening. Welcome to another Monday, and it wouldn't be another Monday without the fans forum. So, it's been a big day in the life of Newcastle. We seem to be saying that all the time, but Eddie Howe has been installed as our new manager on a 2.5 year deal till 2024 summer. He's in. Personally, I'm absolutely buzzing at the appointment. So happy. I'm just excited to see what this guy can bring to our club, and hopefully can instill a mentality that can really take us on. But Chris, the big news is out today. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so do you know what, Pete? I'm feeling a lot more positive now, mate. When we saw Howe in the stands against Brighton, we kind of all knew, didn't we? It was like the worst kept secret that his arrival was impending. But yeah, I'm pleased. I've been watching, as I'm sure many Newcastle fans have. I've been watching many videos. By the way, anybody who hasn't seen the show on Loaded with Pete and Richie talking to the Bournemouth fan, it's a fantastic watch. I watched it earlier on today, caught up, and it just gives you that little bit of extra insight into Eddie Howe and what he's all about. It was really pleasing to hear that he doesn't play five at the back. That was that was a massive plus for me straight away. I'm on board. But yeah, these last few days for me have just been about trying to find out more about Eddie Howe. When you look at what's happened recently, when I say recently in Eddie Howe's career, obviously he took Bournemouth down, and straight away you go, hang on, we've brought him in to keep us up. But people forget about what happened previous to Bournemouth going down and the reasons behind that. And that's why that show was so good, Pete, that you and Mitch did. It provided me with some insight as to what Eddie Howe's all about, and I'm looking forward to his appointment now. And we were talking pre-show. I'm going to the Brentford game at home on the 20th, and that'll obviously be Eddie Howe's first game as Newcastle manager. And he's now got 12, maybe 11 days to work with the players. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I just hope we have a go now, and that's what it's all about for me. It's about having a go, and it's one of the Bournemouth fan, I forget his name, was it Tom?
Yeah, Tom Jordan.
Yeah, Tom was saying, about Eddie Howe. He goes into every game thinking, how are we going to win this? Not a case of how are we going to defend this and try and nick a draw. He goes into every game and wants to win. And I think we saw that, didn't we, with the Chelsea video, which I know has been doing the rounds, where Eddie Howe was talking about how tactically, they were going to set up, or how they did set up against Chelsea, and obviously they came back with a 3-0 win. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the era. And I just want to see what he brings now. And I think team selection is going to be a big thing as well, because obviously there's big question marks around Ryan Fraser and his relationship with Eddie Howe, and will he get the best out of Callum Wilson, which you'd think he would. And then obviously the biggest one, the conundrum with Matt Ritchie. We've played Matt Ritchie as a left back now for God knows how long, and he was always at Bournemouth a right midfielder. So that's going to be interesting. So lots of questions, but it's exciting. It's a new era, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. It is a new era, and from what we've heard from the media and various people on social media, and the players seem to be excited by it. It's looking like he's going to be arriving in the northeast tonight, looking to take training tomorrow. So he's not messing around, and it's great. It's great to hear that he's looking to get stuck into things. I mean, you made a really good point about Eddie Howe. And we did talk about this on the Howe handover on Loaded Mag, in that the question marks are there with regards to how many goals he's conceded. But he actually was asked that question on the Monday Night Football that he was on after he left Bournemouth, and you know what, he headed up that question quite simply, and he does not want to change his philosophy and his way of playing. He has a philosophy and a style of playing. He is attack minded. He used the words front foot. He likes to play on the front foot. He likes to get men forward. He likes to attack. Okay. And he is aware that they can see goals, and that's part and parcel of his philosophy. And I don't think he's willing to change that. But what he did is instill that into his players. at Bournemouth, he instilled that, and he talked about how he instilled that mentality of we keep going, we keep attacking, we're confident on the ball. That's exactly what we need. And you know, with the words that he's talked about, and his style and his philosophy, and in the way in which he likes to play, you know, that mentality is no different to what, you know, Kevin Keegan brought to Newcastle in the 90s. He brought that front foot football where we attacked. We conceded goals, but we attacked, and we made teams play backwards and be worried about them going the other way and not having, you know, 80% possession or 70% possession game after game. And so I'm really excited to see what he brings and the changes that he makes to this team. The one thing I'll say, you know, is that it's not going to change overnight. He's going to need time to get rid of that negative mentality that Bruce had kind of ingrained into the players. But I trust him 100%. And I back him 100%, and I can't wait to see Eddie Howe's Newcastle in full effect. So very, very exciting. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Lots and lots in the chat with lots and lots of positive comments. Evening to you all, guys. We're open. We're live. Come and join us for a chat. We've got no one in the green room as yet, so up until that point, me and Chris will do what we do best, and we'll just talk Newcastle United. So there was a game on Saturday.
There was.
Yeah, we were at the Amex Stadium away at Brighton. 1-1 draw in the end. From your perspective, over the course of the 90 minutes, what was your sort of reaction? What was your reaction to the game overall? Were you happy?
So at half time, Pete, I was just disillusioned. Like, I could not believe what I've been watching at half time. The pleasing part, to go on to the positive, obviously second half was much improved. And ironically, because of nicked it, couldn't we? Because I got all 3 points. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because like I said it myself, but you know, like we all said, oh, Sanchez robbed us of 3 points and it's terrible, it's this and it's that. And you think, well, he's only doing the job that he's paid to do, isn't he? His job is to make sure that we don't score goals, and he'll do that in any way, any means possible. And obviously, you know, when you weigh it up, it doesn't really seem fair, does it? Because Wilson was through on goal on his own. All he had to do was go round the keeper. The keeper knew that, and then the keeper just took him out. But because it wasn't in the penalty area, we didn't get a penalty for it. And what was the, like 4 minutes get left? But on that note, Pete, and I've just loaded a really funny video, well, a really funny picture. I think it's really funny, and you've probably seen it yourself. But I wanted to talk to you about this, Pete. And this was the big talking point for me anyway. What do you reckon of this?
Oh my God. Do not get me started on that. Jesus Christ. I love the picture though. I love it.
Mate, I couldn't believe it though. It was just like when he done it, I was, because when it happened, I thought, right, okay, it's quite far out. He's probably not going to shoot, but he's going to put it in that dangerous area. He's going to put it where Lewis Dunk, who was in goal, for anyone who hadn't seen it, Lewis Dunk, the Brighton centre back, ended up having to go in goal. Because Brighton had used all of the substitutions. So for the last 4 minutes maybe, Brighton were down to 10 men, and they had Lewis Dunk as the centre back in goal. We pick up a free kick. I won't tell you where, because you can see it. There's the free kick. So you're thinking, yeah, you can see just behind Will Smith. I never thought I'd say that. Just behind Will Smith. That looks like Callum Wilson. And that's him basically saying, this is around the area that I want it.
Yeah. Honestly, it was unreal.
I want it about.
It
was crazy,
honestly,
wasn't it?
Oh, Chris, I can't tell you how frustrated I was seeing that.
I don't know what was going through his head, Pete. And you know what? Of all the players in the Newcastle side, Jonjo Shelvey's the one you'd want on the ball, because he can put it where he wants it.
Yeah.
He could have put it in the most awkward position, and you'd think the centre backs, the likes of Clark, the likes of Lascelles would have been going, get it on the back post, and let's make it uncomfortable. He did. To be fair, he floated it, but he floated it towards the end of the 18-yard box, so we couldn't get it back in the box. Unreal.
You know what? Like I had a little bit of exchange with someone on Twitter, because I put a tweet out, and they thought my take was the wrong take. They felt that Jonjo Shelvey shouldn't have shot, because if it had got it into Rose Ed, we'd have all been moaning that why did he shoot? But and that's a fair point, and that's their opinion, and they're entitled to it. But when you've got someone in goal that's not a goalkeeper, doesn't know how to control the ball, doesn't know how to kind of collect the ball when it's been fizzed at them at pace. That's all you need. All you needed to do is hit the target, make the goalkeeper work. If the ball spills, you've got players there to run on the end of it, and we could have nicked something. Or if you put it into a corner, bottom corner, top corner, regardless of how tall you are as a goalkeeper, your movement's not there, and you're likely to not be able to get to it. So we were in a position where we could have nicked that game, and to play that ball the way he did was just so frustrating because we needed that win so much, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. You know, there was the other option of maybe putting someone like Jacob Murphy on there. And I'm not sure if Jacob Murphy's still on the pitch. I believe he was, but putting him on there because he can hit the ball with power. And all he needed was to hit the target as well. So you had options there. So it just did not. I just didn't understand it. I really didn't understand it. But look, I'm sure we'll get into it at some point. But we have some guys in the chat. They're ready to talk. So I'm not going to wait any longer because I'm sure they've all got an opinion on this discussion and the Brighton game as well. So we'll start by welcoming in a familiar face. Welcome in Chris A. How you doing, Chris?
What's up, lads? How are you guys tonight?
How you doing, mate?
Good,
All
mate.
right.
Good, mate.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
So the next 4 matches, I think, are the key to our season. Brentford at home, Arsenal, Norwich, and Burnley. I figure that we've got to get. I'm looking at least 9 points out of those four matches. Not sure we'll get something at Arsenal, but I feel like we've got to get wins in those 3 home matches. So I'm looking for it at least 9 points. 12 points out of 12 would be amazing, but we don't usually play Arsenal very well, and especially away. So I'm wondering what you guys think about possibility or the necessity of getting, let's say, 9 out of 12 points for the next 4 matches.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Chris. You do look at this run of games, don't you, and think this is where we're going to pick our points up. And I believe now we're on 5 points. And if we were to get 9 points for the next 4 games, which I think takes us to around the 4th of December, that'd leave us on 14 points going into that horrible, tough,
brutal,
tough Christmas schedule. And don't forget, there'll be a few surprises that go on there. We look at those fixtures, and most Newcastle fans will agree it's difficult to see any points, from those fixtures. It's very, very difficult. But it's not impossible. And now we've got a new manager, fresh impetus. There's no reason why we can't pick up points, but certainly those games that you're talking about, they're the ones that, we're going to highlight as the games that, we want to win or we should be taking points from. I mean, if we ended up with 14 points going into that December run, and then let's say for argument's sake we picked up 2 more points, and that's being hopeful, but it's possible. If we go into January with 16 points, it's not all that bad. Don't get me wrong, would I have liked more? Of course I would, but we are where we are, and we've got to make sure that from now till January, when we can start getting some players in, we need to pick up as many points as we possibly can. And I'm sure that's probably high on Howe's agenda. It's very much hitting the ground running. He's going to have to react. He's going to have to get a tune out of the squad that he's got at present. And there's no reason to suggest he can't do that. And I'm sure, we've been saying it for ages, haven't we, Chris and Pete? On the match day lives, on the international shows, on Loaded, we've been saying we need a new voice. And I thought it was telling that after Graham Jones's second game in charge at the end of the Chelsea match, the first thing he said was, "We need a new voice. We need a fresh voice." And in Eddie Howe, we very much got that. He's very much a hands-on kind of manager, and he's a man manager. and he's organised. And I think that's what we need, because we've not had that for 2.5, 3 years. We've not been organised at all, and now I feel like we're in a safe pair of hands. So I'm feeling good about it.
Are you lads at all concerned about how Graham Jones will work with Eddie Howe, or do you think Graham Jones will take more of a backseat since he already has Jason Tyndall as his assistant manager? So can you see Graham Jones as being a first team coach?
I think that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be a first team coach. Jason Tyndall will be the sort of assistant manager. He's got his other coaches that are there. What is nice to see, and we have to remember this, looking back at the Bruce sort of era, certainly in the last season, is that all our hopes were put on Graham Jones. Steve Bruce aside, no hopes were put on Steve Bruce. No hopes were put on the other two Steves. Everything was put on Graham Jones. So actually, it would be nice to see Graham Jones being a part of the team. So the emphasis is not going to be on him. You probably won't hear of Graham Jones talking much now. There won't be the emphasis on him, but he was the saviour brought in January to save us. And he effectively did. He did it on his own. The other two Steves didn't give anything. They're not the best of coaches anyway, and that's not just my opinion. That's other people within football circles have mentioned that they're not the best of coaches, and questioned why Steve Bruce had them as coaches because of their lack of quality. So having Graham Jones surrounded by those guys is only a good thing, and we've got to remember Graham Jones has worked with that whole team before, apart from Eddie Howe. He came in as Eddie Howe left. So he knows their style of play. All they did, Jason Tyndall, all he did was continue that work. So they know each other. And so I don't think it will be an issue. I think what you'll hear is now is a lot less of Graham Jones. He'll kind of fade into the background and do the stuff he wants to do on the training ground to get those boys ready. But it will all be guided by Eddie Howe.
Yeah. He did say he's not the guy to set up the cones, but there's definitely a wide amount of room between setting up cones and setting up the whole team. So
definitely, well, he'll be guided now. So Eddie Howe will come in tomorrow, and what he'll do is not just outlay his philosophy to the players, he'll outlay his philosophy to the coaching staff, including Graham Jones. So what Graham Jones will be able to do is know exactly how Eddie Howe wants to play and be able to guide his coaching sessions with the other coaches based on what Eddie Howe wants. It's going to be so exciting. I'm really excited. And you know what I want more than anything? Over these next 13 days or so, I want the club to put out regular videos of Eddie Howe training. I would love to see it. The little 2 or 3 minute videos that they normally put out on a Friday before the match day, I want to see them over the course of the week. Fans will want to see the work that he's doing, the relationships that he's building with his players over the first early days of his management. That would be an absolute winner, in my opinion, if they could go and do something like that.
My last comment would be, I know when we heard Graham Jones say that he's been assured that he has a role, whoever the manager was, everyone was thinking like, oh no, they're going to bring in Roberto Martinez, but people forgot about this connection that he has with, not with Eddie Howe, but with Jason Tyndall and the rest of the Bournemouth setup. So maybe it worked out as it should have worked out.
I agree, 100%, mate. 100%.
All right, thank
Chris,
you, lads.
Absolute pleasure as always. Always good to hear your views, and
I'll see you guys up at St. James Park for the next match. Brentford at home.
Look forward to seeing you, mate.
Singing and dancing, but you're going to get one of these on the way. Top man, Chris.
Take care.
Mate. Great as always to have Chris and his opinions. Made some good points as well, talking about the backroom staff and Graham Jones. It's a point that not a lot of people now have really considered and talked about. But like I say, do you think Graham Jones will kind of fade into the background now?
Yeah, very much so. But I don't think Eddie Howe's the kind of person to just dismiss him. I think Eddie Howe is probably aware that he's got a very, very, very good coach on his hands. And I think once they have that conversation, once they talk about, he's going to be tapping into Graham Jones and saying, right, tell me a bit more about him. What can he do? What's his strengths? What's his weaknesses? He's going to be soaking all of that information up. And Graham Jones has got that, which is great. And then I think Graham Jones will be an integral part of the backroom staff. I agree with what Chris said in terms of, Chris didn't say about him fading away, but I do think he will be less prominent. But I think that suits Graham Jones. I don't think Graham Jones wants the spotlight. I think he was quite clear about that. He's just happy to be at the club. And I think Graham Jones is going to have a big part to play, certainly over the next few weeks, because Eddie Howe needs people around him who know the players and know how the club works. And Graham Jones has got that in abundance, hasn't he? But it's then up to Eddie Howe to relate to the players and the coaching staff like Graham Jones how he wants to play his football, how they're going to go about doing it. So I think it's going to work really well, Pete.
Nah, I agree. 100%. Just before we bring on someone for his very special debut, we know him very, very well. And the Matters chat will know him very, very well when it comes on. We've also got Seb in the back. Now, he can't come on just yet because I think he's on his way home from work. But in the other chat, he's firing questions at his left, right, and centre. So I'm going to ask you one of them. We'll work them in stages, Chris, because he's got a few on there already. But he's asked the question first and foremost. How does Eddie Howe handle Ryan Fraser?
It's a very good question, isn't it? I mean, for me, if I was Eddie Howe, I'd kind of give him a clean slate and take him on face value. So, obviously we all know what happened at Bournemouth where Ryan Fraser refused to play. Whether that was right, whether that was wrong, it's not really for us to say. But because his contract was due to run out, and then there was all the COVID issues, he was worried about getting injured. So he decided that he was no longer going to play for Bournemouth anymore because he wanted to secure a move elsewhere. So yeah, me personally, I don't really necessarily agree with that, but I can kind of see where he's coming from. And it is each to their own. But if I was Eddie Howe, I think he knows the kind of player he's got in his hands. He knows what Ryan Fraser can do. He struck up a fantastic relationship with Callum Wilson at Bournemouth, and Eddie Howe got him playing. So I think it'll be interesting, Pete. A week on Saturday when the lineups come out, it'll be interesting to see if Ryan Fraser figures in his plans. It's either going to be a do or die for Ryan Fraser, in my opinion. I think he's either going to embrace it and bring him in, and he'll be an integral part of the team, or I think he may look elsewhere and maybe he can't let that go what happened in the past, because I think certainly from the videos I've watched and certainly from what I've seen of Eddie Howe, he's very much it's a family, it's a team, and they're all in it together and nobody's there for themselves. That's certainly what has struck me. So that could be Ryan Fraser's downfall. So unless Ryan Fraser gets on board and shows his desire, his commitment, his effort in training, then he could be, you never know, he could be one of the first people out the door. It's all about his attitude for me and how he buckles down under Howe.
Okay. No, it's a great point, and it'll be interesting to see. There's Simon in the chat has put Fraser is injured and withdrawn from the Scotland squad. I wasn't aware of that. Gary's asked the question: is Fraser not injured again? Like I say, I wasn't aware of that. If he is injured, that'd be a shame. But then again, along that attacking line, it might give the opportunity for someone like Miguel Almiron to actually play in the position that he was bought to play in. It's an attacking midfielder who could play off the wing or play through the middle. So look, we've got options if Eddie Howe plays the way that he's normally played, which is roughly around a 4-3-3 type formation. So it could still work, but we'll definitely see with that one. Right. Let's get back to it. So, special guest about to come on. You guys will know him very well, and he is making his debut. So, welcome in, Paul from Tomb Review. How you doing, Paul?
How you doing, mate?
Evening, fellas. You okay?
Very, mate. You?
Thank you.
Yeah, not too bad.
Talk to us. What is your points that you want to make today?
Just the amount of positivity, really, around the fan base. When we look back to when Steve Bruce got appointed, it was met with so much anger, I think, and just totally underwhelming appointment. But this one, slowly, since Eddie Howe was starting to come sort of as number one after all the Emery stuff last week, I think people have taken to him because they've looked at the videos, they've looked at different sort of clips of him coaching and his philosophy on things, and you know what it is? It's absolutely fantastic, and I think I'm really excited to see what he can do with this team. I was worried a little bit about Graham Jones and the influence he might have on him. But after speaking to, I had a Bournemouth fan on this morning, and you had one yesterday. They speak so highly of him about his work ethic, and he's his own man. And I think that's what we need: somebody to come in and give all these guys a kick up the backside. And just when you were talking about Graham Jones before, it's interesting to see if Martinez gets the Villa job, whether Martinez comes in for Jones and takes him to Villa. I heard that banded around a little bit today, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I hadn't really thought of that actually, but yeah, no, that's a really good point, Paul. Because I don't know. I mean, with Graham Jones, he's back in the northeast. It's probably like his dream job, isn't it? He's had a stint as caretaker, which I'm sure he's absolutely delighted with. Didn't quite go how he planned, but at least he picked up a good point away to Brighton. Which, I mean, were you happy with the point away to Brighton, Paul? I'm assuming you were. I mean, tell us a bit more about how you thought about the game at the weekend. I mean, we didn't really touch on it that much, to be Pete, but
no, I would have taken a point before kickoff. I think it was probably more important we came away with something rather than nothing, I think, in that game. After the first half, I don't know. I was bored. I was confused. I didn't understand what our tactics were in the first half. We sat back off them. When you look at Man United against Man City pressed so hard. Man United players, they pressed them into mistakes. We just sat off and let Brighton pass the ball around like we normally do. Yeah. Second half was better. We seem to play with a front three in the second half, but there's still so much worry on some of these players, whether they're good enough or not. I mean, I've lost my patience with Miggy. If I'm honest, I don't see him surviving much longer. I think the Premiership's too physical for him, if I'm honest. He gets the ball, he panics, he doesn't seem to have a clue where he is. But, for some others, we'll see. Like Joe Linton, for instance, people are saying, you work miracles with Joe Linton. Time will tell on that. But it was one of those games where I suppose it didn't matter how we played as long as we came away with something. I'm pleased we're not bottom of the league going into the international break. Yeah, I think that was the main thing.
You talked about players being given a chance, and like you said, there's a number out there of whether they might get a chance or not. But there was a question further up on the chat. I'm not sure I'll be able to find it now, but it asked the question: will Dwight Gayle get a chance under Eddie Howe? Because obviously we're lacking strikers at the moment. We've already mentioned that it actually could be an option or an area that we look to strengthen in January. But between now and January, Will Dwight Gayle, he came on as sub in the last part of the game, obviously after the red card, didn't really get too involved in the game. But could there be an opportunity for him to kind of show his ability under a new manager that's going to play attacking football?
I would say yes. Again, it depends what influence Jones has. I believe he's fallen out with Jones. That's the only reason I can think of that he hasn't been getting on the pitch since Bruce was sacked. But the way the Bournemouth fans talk about, the system he plays, either sort of a 4-4-1-1 or a 4-4-2, he's very into that sort of formation. And if he plays a 4-4-2, then for me, he's got to play two strikers. He's got to because. ASM's not a striker, so I would prefer him out wide, and Miggy as well. He's a sort of wide player. I don't believe he's a number 10. A lot of people say he's a number 10. I'm not so sure. So a 4-4-2 may suit us, or a 4-2-3-1, something like that, just to go more attacking. I can see Gayle getting more minutes on the pitch. Whether he starts or not, it's different. I've just noticed you, Pete, talking about Shelvey's free kick. I was staggered, absolutely staggered that he did not have a shot on goal, or even, like you said, Murphy took the free kick.
Yeah.
When you look at that, right, it's Lewis Dunk in goal, who isn't a goalkeeper, right? It's pouring with rain. The surface is clearly slippy. So why is he not bending that to bounce around the 6-yard box to actually hit the surface and skid off the surface?
It's crazy.
Why is he not?
Crazy.
Why did he float it to the edge of the 18-yard box? I just cannot believe the mentality of the man. It beggars belief.
It was as if he was going for the corner flag. You know, he might as well have. Like the way he hit that ball, you're absolutely right, Paul. Like you've just got to hit the target. You've got to hit the target and make the keeper work. A keeper that's not a goalkeeper.
Exactly.
You know, and you've got players that are hungry, that are sniffing around there. Ultimately, if you're going to clip a ball into the box, clip it into the penalty area, because their best header of the ball is in goal.
Exactly. Put it on the penalty spot. Do something.
Get Lascelles, get Clark right in the middle of the thick of it, and just clip a ball to the penalty spot, and then ask for them to get on the end of it. Don't put it to the far.
And do you know what? Even if he put it in that area, say it was in that area, Dunk would then be thinking, do I go, do I stay? And then the defenders might be going, come and get it, and then it causes confusion, doesn't it?
He's not a goalkeeper, so he doesn't know.
If we put it on the penalty spot and he comes out, he's a central defender. Now, he's not used to catching a football. He's used to heading it away. It could have caused all sorts of confusion. Yeah. And possibly, even if, say, Shelby had shot and it was straight at Lewis Dunk, who's to say that Lewis Dunk is going to hold on to that ball? Not being a goalkeeper. Rebound comes out. Bang. We've got 6 or 7 guys in that penalty box to jump on a rebound. But this has been the mentality of this football team for a long time now, where we're just far too negative and we don't go for the throat. There was a 5-minute spell after we equalised that I thought we could go on and win it. We looked a better team. Amazingly, when Joe Linton come on, he actually made us look more attacking.
It was a great ball, wasn't it, Paul?
Oh, fantastic pass.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Joe did well when he came on, didn't he? We haven't spoken about that really, Pete, but Joe did well when he come on, to be fair to him.
And he did really well, like you said, to spot that ball to Callum Wilson. He was away. Yes, he took one for the team, the goalkeeper, no doubt about it. I mean, or otherwise we would have won that game. But that free kick really paid me off. I have to say, I was enraged when he just clipped a little floaty ball in. I thought, what are you doing? But hey ho, that's our mentality so far. But hopefully Eddie will change it.
I hope that that Eddie Howe works on set pieces is one thing. I'm currently in the corner of my eye. I can see Sky Sports News on, and they keep replaying the clip of Eddie Howe talking
watching it now.
Football. And they're working through funny enough, the set piece that Bournemouth
against
scored
Newcastle,
at St James's Park, and it's a lovely goal that Harry Wilson scores. I remember watching that, and I have to say, I hope Eddie Howe works with Shelby on being more efficient with his passing, with his set pieces, and just set pieces in general. But just the final point, obviously we've got a new manager today, a new manager that's going to take us forward into this new era properly, in a proper manner. Not going to be easy because we're in a battle. But what are your thoughts on Eddie Howe?
Like I say, I'm delighted he's come, but I think what the Newcastle fan base have to do is be patient with him and give him the time that he needs, because we have to remember he's stuck with Steve Bruce's players until January. He can't do anything apart from change formation and tinker with tactics and things like that. It's how well the players respond to it as well. Are they going to be up for the fight? Are they going to want to buy into what Eddie Howe wants to do? I have a feeling that if they don't, they won't be anywhere near the first team. I think he's ruthless like that, and I think that's somebody we need. So I'm all for it, and I think this man can genuinely, do really well for us. He can get us out the crap this season, and who's to say that he can't go on to become a legend up here by, a few years' time. He could still be manager, and we could be up there sort of challenging under Eddie. Because people keep saying, he's here for a couple of years, and then we'll bring in the world-class managers. Who's not to say that Eddie Howe can't be that man? I love the way he talks. I love his philosophies. I'm really intrigued by what is being said about his work ethic. Working 12 hours a day behind the scenes and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to see what he can do, guys. I really am.
Definitely, and obviously, me and Chris have touched on Eddie Howe already, and I completely agree with you. There's no reason to say that if he doesn't do a good job, that he might not get longer. He is his head coach, so he'll have a director of football at some stage that will be liaising with him to sign the right players for the club. The one thing I'll say, and it's not really been talked about, the guy's 43 years old. He's been managing 10 years. He's been managing since his 30s. He's still at the start of his career, effectively, even though he's been in the game managing for 10 years.
Yeah.
Nothing would make me happier than seeing an English manager taking us from the bottom of the Premier League up challenging that top six. There would be nothing that would make me happier than to see an English manager break that barrier of foreign managers that are up there, kind of, cornering off or cordoning off the top four or the top six. What better feeling would we have as Newcastle fans to know not only that we're going in the right direction, but we've got an English manager that's taken us there, the only one that's actually willing to go the next step. And we have to have that trust in him, and we have to have that belief. It's easy to go and get a foreign manager that's experienced, that's won trophies in other countries, like your Emre's and one or two others. But I've just got that you want an English manager to take you forward. It'll just put that cherry on top.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy ride. There will be some rough stages, but we have to stay behind him. We have to stay and believe in what he's doing, and just give him all our support and make sure he knows he's got our support and backing. Yes, there'll be some dodgy results along the way, certainly through December, I've no doubt. But it's after that counts as well. It's probably the 4 games that we've got. Well, the 3 games, I think: Brentford, Burnley, and Norwich. If we can take 3 points and get 9 points out of those games, and I think going into January, I think the future's rosy. I've got no doubt. I'm quite confident. But thanks for having us on, lads. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Paul, do you want to just plug your channel just before you go?
Yeah, it's the Toon Review on YouTube, which I believe you guys are going to be making an appearance. You loaded guys in the not too distant future, so really looking forward to that.
Definitely,
show, and so we'll have some good times on there, definitely. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, look forward to it, mate.
Top man, Paul. Thanks for having you on, having you come on and.
Thanks very much, guys.
Top man.
Take care, Paul. Ta-ra, mate.
Bye-bye.
Great debut for Paul. Great to chat to him as always. And again, fantastic points made about a number of different things.
Just to add in as well, Pete, I didn't get a chance to mention this actually because I didn't want to interrupt Paul while he was in full flow and he was absolutely flying. But did you see the well, I say the interview, but did you see when Eddie Howe was on, I think it was on Match of the Day or BBC Sport at some point, and he was being interviewed, and it was when he'd left the Bournemouth job.
Okay.
And Mike Richards was talking to him, and he was saying that he was going around all different clubs, in various different countries, and he was taking in all training sessions. And he was saying that he's constantly watching more football than what he did when he was manager. So just to alleviate any worries that anybody may have, because people keep highlighting, don't they, the fact that he's been out the game since August 2020, is it?
Yeah.
He's going to be all over it. And so we've heard he's already been looking at this squad. He's been watching this squad. These talks have probably been rumbling on for weeks. So he's probably already got a pretty good idea of what he wants to implement as soon as he walks through the door, hasn't he?
100%. And he was saying that he would have gone to see more if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah, that's right.
He was obviously restricted, but he the one name he kind of highlighted was Maurizio Sarri in Italy. He spent a little bit of time with him and his style and management, and he said, was really respectful with that. There was another interview that he had. I'm not sure if it was the one with Gary Lineker where he talked about. No, it wasn't actually. It was his extended interview where he said earlier on in his career, he met with Brendan Rodgers, and he's learned quite a bit off Brendan Rodgers, and they've got quite a good relationship. And Brendan Rodgers has actually shared a number of things that he uses with his teams. And shared a number of those things with him. So it's interesting the type of quality of manager. I mean, regardless of what your opinions are of Maurizio Sarri, he was successful at Chelsea, but also he's been successful at a lot of other teams that he's been at. Yeah. So he's gone to see some of the best around, which it's a great point that you've made, Chris, and it just makes us all the more excited. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
I really am.
I am.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what he does. And my point still stands. I really want to see the club pull out some videos of him interacting with the players in and around the training ground. Not necessarily mic'd up, but I want to see him on the training ground and the type of manager that he is. And it'll be just great to see over the next few days, couple of weeks. But just going to hit the sponsors. I could never forget these guys. Spider VPN. We love you. We love you. You're the best. For all our internet security, they are the ones to trust. They're the ones to go to. They have kindly agreed to sponsor Steve again and NUFC Matters through November. So massive thank you to VPN for that. Skiptonbins.com. So telephone 0800 2545 253. For email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Sir Bobby is always there to support you. We have LNG Family Funeral Directors 0191 389 7245. We've got the main man who's in the chat tonight. Hope you're well, John Justice Allen. qtechshop.co.uk. They're the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Newcastle, and run also the website for nufcmatters.com. We've got Jab Signature. They produce the flyers at jabsignature.co.uk. Massive thanks for your support. Again, if you haven't seen their new clothing range, it is fantastic. Go onto the website, take a look. I'll definitely be purchasing some more stuff in the run up to Christmas. Got NewcastleLegends.com. Hit the like button and subscribe. If you haven't already, hit the like also and subscribe button for NUFC Matters for tonight's show. NUFC Matters is always also available on iTunes and Spotify. So if you didn't get a chance to watch it live, you have other opportunities to watch it elsewhere. The big one, the NUFC Matters Christmas night party, celebration. All the Matters crew are getting together at the Tyneside Irish Centre, November the 19th, starting at 7 p.m, where we'll be joined by Supermac. And a week later, Steve Rafe and the Newcastle Legends present Peter Beardsley, Pedro, the legend. An evening with Peter Beardsley, Friday, November the 26th at 7 p.m, also at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Loaded Mag. We could not get past the sponsor shout out without Loaded Mag. Myself, Chris, Martin, Richie, Daz, the boys producing lots and lots of content this week. In fact, we are on tonight with Ben Jacobs, starting from 8 o'clock. Martin will be running that show alongside myself. So once we've finished here, you know where to go. Come and join in. Get your questions in the chat for Ben, who wants to discuss where we are currently with Newcastle United and the new manager, Eddie Howe. Bobix got an event on with Steve Rafe and Supermac Thursday, the 9th of December. More football chat in aid of West End Food Bank. So again, another event for you guys to get involved in too. Okay, sponsors done. We've got guys still waiting in the chat. Another regular, another top man, stat man, Keith. How you doing, Keith?
Evening, lads. How are you?
Evening, mate.
How's your Monday been?
You know what? It's been one of the better Mondays, I have to say. When that cheeky tweet came through at 2 or 3 minutes to 3 from Newcastle, I couldn't help but be excited by it. And it's definitely made my Monday a hell of a lot better. What about yourself?
Absolutely sound. It's such a relief at last to get a new manager in place, because it was just, oh, that was starting to get torturous, that like going into a third week. So it's a relief that he's in place, and now the hard work starts, and let's see, because I think it's probably the best. I know the club's second bottom, but really international break's probably the best time for him to come in, where he can, rather than instead of like pre-season, the best of that possible time where you can get to see all the players, because not a lot of them will be away on international duty, so he gets to see them in training really, and makes a good assessment, and then home game coming up as well, against Brentford, which for me is a must win. They must get some points on board. And I was looking at some figures you'll not be surprised to hear as well, lads, before. And I'm trying to steer away from the gloom, because obviously the club's worst possible start in history, but you'd be pleased to hear that one club in 29 seasons has managed to stay up after a worse start than Newcastle. And that was Derby County in 2000-2001. No wins at all in the first 13, yet somehow Jim Smith, the late great Jim Smith, managed to get 10 wins, 5 draws and 10 defeats from the next 25, which Newcastle needs something similar. 35 points. That's really what Newcastle need to do. And I also wanted to say a little bit about Eddie Howe as well, and put some context on these figures that have been coming out about Eddie Howe, because there's been a lot of Eddie Howe got Bournemouth relegated. And yes, that's true. They did get relegated under Eddie Howe, but we have to look at it and say in 2019-20, Bournemouth started really well that season and beat Man United and Chelsea. It got some really good results, and it was the latter part of the season when COVID pandemic hit, when they went into the bottom 3 and they really struggled without their fans in that tight ground. The Vitality Stadium didn't have any fans, and they were only relegated by 1 point. The one on the last day of the season, and Villa got the win to keep them up, and it was a really unfortunate set of circumstances that had a lot of players out as well. Also, a couple of years before that, I wanted to reverse that a bit as well, and say that Bournemouth had a terrible start of that season, 2017-18. They didn't win in 10 games as well. Yet they somehow managed to climb up the table, where they beat Chelsea away 3-0. And this was Antonio Conte as well. That was the manager at the time. Chelsea were champions as well from the previous season that year. And again, they beat Arsenal, and they somehow managed to get up to the table at 12th. So it can be done. So, we've got to get behind Eddie Howe here and see what we're doing. And less of the negativity here of he got Bournemouth relegated. Let's put some context on it and look at the facts here. Look in a little bit in detail, because again, I don't know about you guys, but I just get fed up with lazy journalism sometimes. Excuse me.
Yeah, no,
I thought you were putting a voice on then, Keith.
I was getting emotional, lads.
Love it. But you know what, Chris, I didn't know that. Did you know some of those stats from Eddie Howe?
No.
Bournemouth?
No, absolutely not. And do you know what? It just gives you that little bit of confidence, doesn't it? I mean, I am fully on the Howe train now, by the way. Like, I'm getting fully behind him. I know I was a little bit pessimistic, wasn't I? Yeah, I was, because I think it was the whole Emery thing, but Keith really hit the nail on the head then, and somebody in the chat said it as well, about Howe being our number one target. Everyone forgets we never actually made a contract offer to Emery.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything to sign. So, for people like me who are a little bit defeatist over getting Howe, I think we need to get behind him. Someone else in the chat as well said, for the last 14 years, I felt like crap. And now we've got new owners. Bruce has gone, Ashley's gone, and we've got a new manager who's ambitious, and will hopefully, we'll start to see us trying to win football matches, which we haven't seen for a long time, have we? It's basically been about how not to lose football matches. But now we're going to have a manager in who plays on the front foot and goes out there to try and get 3 points. And I for one am very excited about that.
I 100% agree with you. I said it to myself. If we are lucky enough to get this takeover and have a new era under new owners, especially if it was the PIF at that point, back in sort of July, August, it was all up in the air. I said it didn't matter who came in. It didn't matter who came in, what players came in. I would back them 100% because we're in a new era. We are now looking forward with positivity. So look, I've always rated Eddie Howe. I'm absolutely delighted that he's the manager. But you know what? If Emery had come through, even if someone that I don't particularly rate in Martinez come in, I would back them as well 100%.
Yeah.
It's just about getting behind these players, getting behind this manager. Let's show the rest of the Premier League what we're all about, not just on the pitch, but as a club and as a fan base. Let's really get behind them. We've shown them for 14 years that we're willing to back these players in this club, even in our darkest moments as a club. We back these players. I was there at that 5-0 away at Leicester, where at 60 minutes we were already 3 or 4-0 down, and we just sang and sang and sang, and we outsang the team that were 3-4-0, then 5-0 up, all the way through. And I always remember the Leicester fans coming out. Obviously, they didn't know I was as an away fan at the time, and all I could hear them talk about, those Newcastle fans. I don't know how they could keep singing at 5-0 down. They were amazing. They other fans respect us. It's not the only time. Whether we've been away at Blackburn, whether we've been to Barnsley, whether we've been to Huddersfield, whether we're wherever we go, we get respect because we back our players and our club through our best and our worst moments. We're now hopefully going in our best moments, and even more so, it's now time to back these players, show those players that we support them no matter what, and give them that 12th man that they need for the rest of this season.
Absolutely.
Keith, we've talked about Eddie Howe, and you've obviously you've squashed some misconceptions and some opinions about him. What do you think needs to be done first from Eddie Howe? He's going to be in the door tomorrow morning, so we hear. He's already on his way up to the northeast. What do you think we need to see from him early doors in these couple of weeks building up to the Brentford game?
I just think he's got to get out there on the training pitch really and sort of assess the players really. I mean, I assume he would have been having the meetings with Graham Jones as well. He'll probably, to get a sort of handover really of where players are at really, who's got niggles, who's got injuries, how far are players off. I'd be looking at and asking questions about, players that can come back to strengthen the team, like Dubravka. I know he's on going on international duty. How far is he off being fit? Could he have played on Saturday? Made the difference? Where can that defense be strengthened? Is that really our strongest lineup? Eddie Howe as well has been watching the games.
Yeah.
He's not coming in cold. He's a very methodical man. He would have studied things, and he'd be asking questions about maybe the likes of Fernandez, Shaw. Players on the sidelines, Gayle, why are they on the sidelines? Can they come in and actually strengthen the team? That's what I want to see from Eddie Howe, and that's what I want to see being implemented in the first few games, really. I want to see a little bit of something different because although Jones's time hasn't been a complete disaster, there's still that little bit maybe play safe and hasn't really shaken things up from what Bruce has done, really. So he got the 2 points, but again, some of that football it has been a little bit Brucey at times. It hadn't felt like we're completely departed yet, and I want to see more of a departure from that. I want to see the club and Eddie take some risks, which I'm sure he will do, given that he favours expansive football and more forward play. And let's just see how it goes from there, really. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of work done in the next 2 weeks before the Brentford game, the Bournemouth Brentford game coming up.
Yeah, I keep saying it. I'm just excited. I'm excited. It's a new opportunity to really kind of see what this team are about. And Brentford are not playing well at the moment. They got beat by Norwich, and although they kind of fought back, they're not in a good moment right now. And look, I'm kind of segueing slightly into something different, but we're in our bad moment at the moment. Brentford haven't had theirs yet, and we're still not that many points away from them. So I always remember, whether it was Brighton, whether it was Huddersfield, whether it was Fulham, they have an early start to the season, they do all right, and all the media are saying, they're going to stay up, no problem. And then what happens? They start to tail off, and they tail off mid-season, and then they can't get the form back. And before you know it, other teams that were dead and gone in September, October, then start to rise. So I don't rule the teams like Brentford out there. They're being bigged up because they drew at Liverpool and they beat Arsenal, and that's the honeymoon period. They're expected to go out there and really hit it. But this is what the Premier League's about. It's not just a one-off game like they played against us in December. You've got to do it every week. And those players got the mentality and the ability to play at that level week in, week out. They gifted Norwich their first win. I hope they gift us our first win the next time we play them.
Yeah, Newcastle just need a 1-0. They just need a 1-0 with Callum Wilson and just try to keep it, hopefully with Dubravka behind the sticks, marshalling things from the back, ordering things about from the back, a bit more leadership, and it could keep things tight. Because you take the Chelsea game out the picture in the last 3 games. I know it's not great, 24 goals conceded, but they have only conceded 2 if you just take the Chelsea game out of the picture. And for 65 minutes, the game plan mightn't have worked for the whole match, but at least for 65, it was 0-0. So
I'll tell you what, Keith, you've made a really good point there. I would take 1-0 week on Saturday all day long, because correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be our first win of the season and our first clean sheet of the season. That would be even more pleasing.
Confidence booster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't mind a 3 or 4 0 though.
No, I'll take
Really
That's going to come in time.
Anyhow, error into full gear, a little bit like Sir Bobby Robson. Just can we like kick right into gear? Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Yeah. 6-0 against QPR away, just like that again.
There you go. Who knows? But Keith, absolutely spot on, mate. Absolute pleasure to always have you on. Great to chat to you as always, and you definitely get one of these. I had to leave that comment up.
Cheers, lad.
I had to leave that comment up there. Nicholas put on, I hope the first player he meets says, Eddie Howe, how's the bacon, did you say? Love it, Nicholas. Absolutely spot on. But Keith, absolute pleasure. I'll speak to you soon. You take care.
Thanks a lot, lad, guys.
Cheers,
take
Keith.
care.
All the best, mate.
Oh, I've gone straight into it. I clicked it by accident. But you know what?
I've jumped you.
To have on than Jeff. He's back. Yeah. How are you?
I'm here. I'm fine. How are you? How's your back?
You know what? Not good. But I'm able to sit this week. The meds are doing their job, so I can't feel a thing. I won't go into the details.
Yes, he's on drugs, everybody. That's why he's happy. He's on drugs.
But yeah, it's not fixed. Let's say.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you to get a chiropractor online, so you have to do it. Well, I think we've reached the nadir on the last match, which was the bottom, the very bottom, and weren't the fans good? Weren't everybody singing how? It was really good. But I can't wait for Eddie to get his hands on everybody, and it'd be a fresh start. We've got to start completely from scratch in a sense, because we can't play attacking football as slowly as we play attacking football. We can't press out of possession. We're hopeless. Everybody's running around not knowing what to do, except stay in a straight line. They got that bit. I was quite impressed with how straight that line got at times. That was very good. 7 of them in a line. Very good. I don't know what to say about Eddie Howe. I trust the club have taken their time over this, and I'm really pleased to have. We can remember JFK.
Yeah.
Gets announces he's going to be a manager on Talk Sport and gets everybody by surprise, including Mike Ashley, I think. But and you can imagine the time wasters involved in this process. All these people, their agents ringing up, and the complication of what staff you're going to bring in, all that sort of thing. I'm very pleased it's taking time. These are grown-up people. It's quite good. At last, we have grown-ups in charge. What else was I thinking of mentioning? I like the fact that Eddie Howe is a reasonably good name to rhyme with, and you can make a reasonable anagram out of him. I only got one, which is I hoe weed, but I'm sure that's got something to do with him going on gardening leave.
Not yet. We've only just signed him.
So I'm quite looking forward to what's going to happen next. I'm quite prepared for a shambles, but it could be a different shambles this time, and we might get some luck. Good luck to the man. And I'm sort of emotional, as with Keith there, in a sense that we found our new Rafa, I think, if we get it right. Because, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I'd love the thought of a manager that stayed for 3, 4, 5 years because he was good.
Yeah.
Not just because nobody could be bothered to sack him, And, get used to the fact that teams have bad days. Clubs have bad months, And I don't know if anybody's has an opinion on this, because I'll bounce this back to you. Whether the whole takeover business has sent ripples running through the whole Premiership. Because some weird stuff's been happening. There's been some pretty off-balanced results, and we've been sacking managers here. And, the big boys have been getting beaten unexpectedly. Good old West Ham, nice go. So what do you think? Is that a reaction to us? Can we take the credit for that?
What do you think, Chris?
It's an interesting one, isn't it, Jeff? Yeah, everyone's kind of gone sack happy, haven't they? So Aston Villa have got rid of Dean Smith, and Norwich get the first win of the season, and then go right, time to get rid.
They're only here for the pies.
Yeah. It's been an odd, couple of days, hasn't it, in terms of events? But yeah, you might be right. Maybe other clubs are thinking, right, we're going to have to move now because Newcastle have moved. We've taken our steps, and maybe they're thinking they've got to take their step. Whether or not it'll make a difference, I don't know. I mean, personally, I think it's absolute lunacy to get rid of Daniel Farke now, because they've just got the first win, and the one manager who knows the players better than anybody is Daniel Farke, and whoever they bring in, they've got a hell of a job on their hands, because that Norwich squad.
I can't imagine getting, what's the point, really?
Yeah. No, I completely
it's just going to cost you money.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's going to change much either. And if anything, if they were going to go for anybody, I probably would have gone for Chris Wilder in their position, because he's a good Championship manager. But obviously he's gone to Middlesbrough in the absence of Neil Warnock. But yeah, it's a funny one. I'd be interested to see who gets the Villa job. I think that is a really interesting one. I know Roberto Martinez is an early favourite. He doesn't worry me, if I'm honest. I don't think that'd be a good appointment for them.
Interesting idea about. Sorry.
Oh no, go on.
I was going to say it's an interesting idea about our current manager leaving to go and play with Villa. It's a strange idea, but
yeah, it is.
It's an easy story to write, I think, actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to have to get used to that. There's going to be an hour counter wash of all the people who are saying, "Oh, my mate should have got the job," and "Are we sure he's the right man?" and all that sort of stuff. We're going to get counter trolled, all the usual sort of rubbish. But I'm expecting a reaction from the players anyway. That'll be good. More interesting hair, I hope, as well, because it's difficult to look grim and determined with an Alice band and beads. But Joe Linton's going for the Brazilian Gaza look, I thought, which was something.
It worked. It worked when he came on. I was happy with Joe when he came on.
Yeah. Anyway, God, let's hope Paul Dummett gets fit. That's basically, I think, would solve a lot of our problems if we had Paul Dummett fit. At least on one side.
Yeah, he's gone to see a specialist, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's the second time he's gone to Barcelona now to see a specialist. The first time was about his hamstring. I think this is about his calf, if I'm right in thinking this time. Which says to me, if he's gone to a specialist, that it could potentially be another long-term one. Now,
it's a shame. It's a shame because we really miss him.
Yeah, he's a terrific defensive fullback. You kind of underestimate how important defensive fullbacks are, because we're used to them now in the modern game bombing forward and getting crosses in. A little bit like Jamal Lewis, he's that type, but he just knows how to defend. But is that going to mean that we dip into the transfer market to kind of replace him and get another left back in? It could be the question. But I just wanted to add on to what you mentioned about who's sending sort of like ripples through the Premier League, because I think you're right. I think the type of panic that other clubs have had, I think suggests that. What I touched on is how quickly the West Ham takeover has materialised so soon after the Newcastle takeover. It was just simmering in the background, nothing really talked about. But once the Newcastle takeover came through, it's a case of, right, we're not happy about the Newcastle takeover coming through. So Premier League, you have to put this through, and you've got to put it through now. And it's kind of like all rushed, and there's a lot of panic there, because I think teams like West Ham are having a good moment, and so are some other teams, but they all know that Newcastle are not going to be down for long. And no matter what happens this season,
it's about the journey.
Yeah,
it
is.
It's all about the journey.
And they know full well, teams like West Ham know full well, and they're playing very well at the moment, very well. I tweeted something out about them as a team yesterday, and we all know that they're doing well, but we also know it's a cycle. They've got a lot of aging players that are coming into their prime right now, but they'll soon come out of it, and their form will drop massively, and they'll drop out. Whereas we'll be on a consistent rise to a point where we can still invest heavily and maintain that rise. And I think teams like West Ham know it. So I think they're trying to rush through things now to maintain what they've already got, so they can stay up there and challenge. So it's very, very interesting how things are going. The one thing you mentioned, Chris, about the Norwich, and I agree with you about Farke getting sacked, is that, look, Norwich, regardless of that win at the weekend, are still going to go down. But he was the best.
It would
man
take
to
a
bring
miracle,
them
wouldn't it?
He was the best man to bring them back up. So what they've done is shot themselves in the foot, because they're going for a new manager to try and save them. But in turn, they've lost the manager that actually, if they went down, could actually get them back up again. And now they've got to put their hope, if they do go down, in another manager that might not be able to guarantee that. And then what happens? Like your Blackburns, like your Stokes, like your Sheffield United, you then get sucked into that mid-table championship battle, and you end up not staying one season there, you end up staying 3, 4, 5 seasons there. You look at Sunderland, they did it twice. They went down to League One, and they're in that battle right now, and they'll hopefully be down there for many more years to come. So strange decision that.
Well, I've always assumed they were playing for the parachute payments,
Yeah. No, I was going to say
that
Jeff,
seemed to be the strategy.
That's exactly it.
Seemed perfectly valid. Because otherwise you can cripple yourself with debt trying to stay up, and end up.
That's what happened when they were last in the Premier League, Jeff. They were very careful with the money. They didn't overspend. They went down, then they've come back up. But it's just an odd thing to do. I mean, as a club, we're worried about going down. We're on the same points as Norwich, and let's not forget, if you compare the two squads, without being funny, our squad is a lot stronger than Norwich's. And don't forget, we've got the new manager bounce, we've got the new owner bounce. We've got a lot of things going our way. And to touch on what Pete's just said, the likes of West Ham are going to be looking over their shoulders at us and thinking, if Newcastle stay up next season, they're going to be a different beast, and we will be. We will be a different beast if we stay up. We're going to probably be in and around the likes of where West Ham, Villa. I mean, I know Villa are struggling at the moment, but we're going to be looking at that top 10, and we're going to be thinking we belong in that top 10. So if we have the January window and then the summer window, our starting 11 on the first game of next season is going to look a hell of a lot different to what it does now, because there's going to be a big overhaul in the summer. And, give it 2, 3, 4 seasons. There's no reason why we can't be challenged in that top 6 at all.
Well, because I think we'll then have a direction. We'll know what sort of players we need, what sort of, football we're playing, the formation, to get the right players. Because I think what's destroyed this squad is being played out of position. There can't be anything worse for a player than being played out of position, because he can't do what he really feels he ought to be able to do. And I think that's what's really knackered a lot of these guys. Plus the whole, you're not being properly coached if you're being forced to play in the wrong position for a start. And really, it's not, you're not developing as a player. Richie's developing as a left back. Well, it's a bit late in his career to develop himself as a left back, I think. Yeah, and Fraser wandering around in midfield the other week. It's just daft. It's just daft. Yeah. Miggy wandering around generally is a bit daft, but that's another matter.
There's one thing we didn't touch on, Pete. I just wanted to get Jeff's thoughts on this before we go. A lot of tweets regarding Michael Emenalo as the director of football. Now, and I think you tweeted this before, actually, didn't you, Pete? I'm sure I've seen it on Twitter. A very exciting director of football. So, Jeff, I mean, have you seen anything about Michael?
I haven't seen anything about it, and to me, that's still an open thing as to whether we go down that method. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you get the right partnership, you get the right sort of person, somebody who doesn't want to be manager, somebody who's really content to do the background work, the all the stuff that needs to go on, because decisions really need to be made by like three people. You need the financial guy, you need the director of football, and the manager, or however it works. You need a small group, but who always take these decisions. That way, things get done properly. And
there's rumours that Emenalo, obviously he spent a large time at Chelsea. I'll let Pete talk more about him because he by the sounds of it, Pete knows a lot more about him than me. But apparently he spoke very fondly in the past about Eddie Howe, and he's currently in discussions in Saudi Arabia about whether or not to take the director of football role at Newcastle. And it would make sense, wouldn't it? And it would all start to piece together if that's why we've gone for Eddie Howe.
If you're going to be a big club, right, and properly integrate with your community and have a proper academy and do all the stuff that you need to do as a big club, and to sort of, put right 16 years of neglect, you do need someone who's not going to be on the training field, who can sit in the background and deal with all these agents, because the amount of people are going to be trying to sell this people stuff at the club at the moment. Everybody and his dog will be ringing up trying to sell them this service and that service, and I wouldn't want to be in that position.
You're right. It's a tough position, and it's a key position that we need to employ now. Michael Emenalo is a talented director of football. You look at Chelsea, and Chelsea get absolutely hammered for this, and they have done for years, about how many young players they've run through, whether it's young players through the London section that they managed to pluck away, or whether they buy some of the best young players from abroad and bring them into their setup. And then what they do is they loan them out to teams, in particular Vitesse Arnhem in Holland. They tend to ship them out to get regular football at a high level. Then when they're ready, some of them will spend 2 or 3 years at that club and then eventually come back and are given an opportunity in England or in the first team, or they're sold on. He created that. He created that mold at Chelsea. So he just basically ripped up the academy, blueprint, and created that area. He also had a huge say on the likes of Juan Mata coming to the club, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, the likes of Mo Salah, and the likes of Eden Hazard. He had a say. He went out and found these players and said, right, this is the type of guy we need at Chelsea. Those type of players excite me. If he's got a good eye for those type of players. He was highly respected at Chelsea. I think he at one point tried to resign when Mourinho came back for his second stint. I don't think Mourinho. I don't think Mourinho wanted. I think he had this thing of working. He didn't want to work with a director of football. He wanted to say on his transfers, and so not in a horrible way. He said, "I'm quite happy to step away," but Chelsea knew his worth and kept him for another couple of years, before he eventually left. Anyway, he's had a little bit of time at AS Monaco, who have been renowned for bringing top young players through. He's another highly sought after, a highly qualified director of football. Now you've got Luis Campos, who we've been linked with heavily. We've got Ralph Rangnick, who we were linked with initially when the takeover happened. For me, we're looking at the best. It doesn't matter who of them come through. So Michael Emenalo is the latest, but it's great to see that we're looking for the best of the best to come to Newcastle to take us forward. You know, there was, and I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but there was talks of, you know, the likes of Les Ferdinand, and Les is an absolute legend of the club, coming in as director of football. But and there was one or two others, you know, Nikos Dabizas, for example, who's also done okay where he's been at. But these guys are the best in Europe. Yeah,
you're buying a contact.
The absolute best.
You're buying a contact list, basically. You're buying their address book.
If they know that they're working for Newcastle as director of football, automatically some of the best young talent that you get around Europe, as you just said, Jeff, and you're absolutely spot on. The phone gets dialed to them directly. We've got this player. Come and have a look at him, and it just makes so much of a difference. And that could be the difference for us moving forward, is bringing in top quality young players and actually sustaining that. So he doesn't just find and bring these young players in. He has an influence in the academy and how the academy works. We know that the academy at Newcastle could be better, and you know, we need that level of quality, and it's great that the new owners are looking at that level to bring in. It doesn't matter who out of those ones that we've been linked with come through the door, they're all quality. They're all quality, and they will all make a significant impact at Newcastle. But as you've said, Jeff, and you're right in saying, it might be Chris actually, that Emiliano has talked about Eddie Howe. He likes his philosophy. He likes his way of playing. He likes his way of managing players in terms of how he's on the training ground, what he does. He's talked about him positively. That's like a match made in heaven, because that's Emiliano's philosophy. You looked at the type of players that I've mentioned: Mo Salah, Eden Hazard, Juan Mata, Kevin De Bruyne. They're all attacking-minded players. They're all front foot players, and he wants to bring those type of players to
all intelligent players as well.
Yeah,
intelligent players. That's something you really need. After years of John Joe's decision making seems to have gone mad. People who, you know, having a De Bruyne on our side would be fantastic. Somebody who can see apart. Well, you know, we need to replace Peter Beardsley, really.
We still haven't, have we? In how many years? It's crazy.
Yes, we've never quite replaced Peter. One final thing, on a broader scale, I think we have, if as you're saying about director of football like that coming in, we are creating a new space in the market. We are creating a whole brand new route for people to get their players to market for, you know, and it's going to be very interesting. And I hope the fans will bear with the fact we might lose a few games, right? Yeah. And we've got the same squad and all the rest of it. But at least we know we're heading in the right direction. We can have faith again. It's just like when we had Rafa, you know, and I'm sure Eddie would stay with us when we went down as well.
Yeah,
which is the point that everyone misses about Rafa. That's why we love Rafa. He stayed with us. I'm going to get emotional now.
Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure. Always love you coming on and sharing your thoughts about Newcastle. Thank you for the tips.
It's a privilege, guys. Thanks very much.
I will get my back checked out, but thank you for your
chiropractor. I genuinely mean that. It might cost you 40 quid, but it's well worth the effort.
Will do. I'll get on that.
Because you can't stay on drugs forever. Promise. Well, you can try. You can try.
I'd want to, because it takes you anyway. You're
I can't personally recommend it. Yes.
Oh, brilliant, Jeff! Absolutely spot on. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much. And you definitely need one of these, because it was a back of the net performance.
Bye.
Great to have Jeff on. Absolutely love having Jeff on. Always brings a lot of fun. A lot of fun to the show, doesn't he, Pete? Jeff?
Definitely. I don't know what's going on with my thing tonight.
I thought I was going to have to close the show out there, Pete.
No, it just opens up
random windows.
Windows on its own. It's a mad one, but Jeff's a legend, absolutely spot on. What I was going to do, and I'm really glad you kind of brought it up, is once like when Jeff had finished his points, I was actually going to raise it about Michael Emiliano, but it was a great chat, and it'd be very interesting to see how that kind of kind of opens up. Alan Thompson talked about just a second ago. I think you put it up there. Chelsea have contacts at Wallsend Boys Club. How many young players are coming through our system? Yeah, because they're getting. But that's it. What they do, they stretch far and wide. Chelsea at one end of the country, but I've got scouts and people in the other end of the country because they're looking at taking all the best players that come available in England to be the best. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember who mentioned it, but why can't we go to the Northwest and take the best players out of Manchester and Liverpool? Why can't we go down to London and get some of the top talent and bring them up here? Who's to say that with the types of contacts of the directors of football and people like that that could come into the club that we can't, that we could go and do that? There's no reason why we can't.
Well, look at what Arsenal were doing for years, Pete. With Wenger, Arsenal were constantly going to Barcelona and taking all their best young players. So why can't we do that? I mean, the way Barca and Real Madrid are now as well, with all the debt, and they're not quite the same clubs as what they were 5-10 years ago. There's no reason why, we can't go around to these academies, with the money we've got. And obviously if we start bringing in, big director of football, start playing good football, getting up the league, we're going to get noticed. And if we do our homework, we could potentially bring in some superstars, couldn't we? Or superstars of the future, should I say?
100%. We need to be bullish now. We need to really kind of put ourselves on the map with regards to young players and start bringing them through. 100%. Well, we're nearly there. I'm not sure. Seb keeps dropping in and out.
He was there a minute ago, wasn't he?
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's going to come on at some point. But you know what? Lots of people in the chat have raised.
That's what I was laughing at before, Pete.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. 100%. He's hiding somewhere.
Yeah.
He's hiding somewhere for sure. But Colin's put coming up for the party on the 19th and taking in the Brentford game next day. Cannot wait to see what position Matt Ritchie will be playing. That alone will tell a story. It will be very, very interesting. Very interesting. I'm going to add him in just in case he does pop on because he popped up a second ago. But we'll keep going. We've looked at the Daz comment. Cheers for that, Keith. I'll probably get chucked off now in a second. Cracking show, lads. Thank you for Colin. Absolutely spot on. Keith, Chelsea doing what Man United used to do when they were at their peak with their scouting system. That's true. They were very bullish, took all the best players. 100%. Great times ahead for the Toon. So much to look forward to. Straffy, you're absolutely right. I cannot tell you how excited I am, and I know Chris feels sort of exactly the same. Here he is, Seb. How you doing, my man?
He's tried every angle. There he is.
Can you hear us?
We can't hear him.
Yeah, sorry, man. I've just been cooking, man. I still haven't finished.
No worries. Just before we ended the show, I know you've been waiting patiently, so I appreciate that. But come and talk to us. How are you feeling about Eddie Howe as our new manager?
Yeah, so to be fair, I was looking at the Sky Sports footage the other day when he was talking about the way he dissected the set piece when they scored against us, the way he beat Chelsea away. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, the time he had out of the game was fair enough. Like, he went around visiting other coaches, and about a year or so ago, when names were coming up to replace Bruce, I was actually skeptical about him. I thought, yeah, he's been down, he's blacklisted, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But right now, we basically need someone, and the fact that he's worked with Ritchie, Fraser, and Wilson before is only a good thing. Graham Jones isn't going anywhere; he's going to stay part of his coaching staff, and yeah, I'm really just here to reiterate some of the points from earlier. So the next 3 home games just have to be wins, realistically. But another point I would like to make is I think Nathan Ake will be a great signing. But the fact that I think City are light on cover. So I think because they're challenging on all fronts, I don't think they're willing to let him go in January, which is a bit of a problem for us.
Oh, I don't know, Seb. It's a great shout, Nathan Ake. And you know what was really interesting?
And money talks, doesn't it? Money talks. If you put the money on the table.
Yeah, but let's be honest. I think I made this point in the other group earlier, the WhatsApp group, Pete. City don't need the money, and like how many centre backs have they got? They'll be like Are they going to get a January replacement? So we can get him in summer, but in terms of January, I think it's a big ask to get him in January.
They've got four. They've got four centre backs. They've got obviously Diaz, Laporte, Stones, and Ake. So they've got four. So who's to say that they don't get a fourth cover? They let Ake go and get someone in on loan or someone to cover in. Like you said, they don't need the money, but they'll need the position. So it might be that they go out and just replace him.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, I made a point in the group, in the chat a bit earlier. I think what I said to you, Pete, was I know you were unhappy with Shelby the way he got sent off against Spurs, but does offer something in midfield that we don't really have. Willock's not on form. Jones is not playing him. So yeah, he doesn't run the miles, but he offers something. So realistically, in January, in terms of replacing people, I don't expect us to buy 6 players in January. To be honest, I only expect maybe 3 or 4.
Okay.
So I don't expect us to push the boat out too much. What do you think?
What do you think, Chris? Obviously, Seb doesn't think there'll be around 6 players, maybe 3 or 4. Would that be more sensible, or maybe with those 3 or 4 that Seb's suggesting that they are higher quality players?
Yeah, no, I agree with Seb. I said this a while ago on Loaded, Seb, about, for me, I think it's about tweaks in January. I wouldn't necessarily do a big overhaul because it could upset the squad. For me, I'd probably be looking, I'd definitely be looking at a centre-back. I think we can make do with the right-back position for now because I do like Manquillo. So I wouldn't necessarily be looking for the right-back at the moment. Definitely a central midfielder and just someone to put the ball in the back of the net. I think because if we lose Callum Wilson, we're back to square one again. It's got to be that striker who's as good as Wilson or better. The central midfielder who, has got the legs, the energy, hopefully a playmaker. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? I know we keep getting linked with goalkeepers, Seb. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
do you think?
I don't know. I've heard that story as well. Is Dubravka got a problem with his fitness or something?
Yeah, we got linked with Ter Stegen, didn't we, from Barcelona?
I heard that.
And now the Lazio goalkeeper. I can't think of I can't pronounce his name, but it begins with S. Is it Stravsky? Yeah. Good keeper, but would I highlight a keeper as a must? Probably not. I think if we've got Dubravka, it's good enough.
I know Dubravka's definitely good enough, but maybe because he's maybe 32, pushing on 33, but it's not an immediate need. He can definitely finish the season.
Yeah,
so that's not a need. But in terms of strikers, like who's really available?
This is it, mate. This is why we might have to pay a premium. I mean, in the Premier League, I can't think of anyone, if I'm honest. We'd probably have to go abroad and maybe utilize the loan market, bring someone in, get a player's wages off the wage bill for the club and give him 6 months with the option to buy. It could be something like that, but we definitely need a striker. I mean, somebody mentions in the chat there, Jesse Lingard. I'd be going for him straight away. I think Jesse Lingard, I mean, we saw what he did for West Ham. If he's playing week in, week out, we know what he can do.
Yeah, but he's not a striker.
No. I'm thinking more for like behind the striker, but he'd certainly be a player I'd look at. I know someone mentioned Sterling as well. I think Sterling's probably a bit a touch ambitious. But in the summer, Who knows? But yeah, January, I can't see us getting Sterling.
There's two that I will go for. That I think would instantly improve us, and one I've talked about quite a lot. So Luka Jovic at Real Madrid on loan, not getting any games there, not even coming off the bench half the time. He's just sitting there, not playing any football, and I think he would instantly improve us. He's a natural goal scorer, and I think him alongside Wilson. If Jovic was through the middle, Wilson can play off the left or right. He has that ability to switch off the left or right if we're playing a front three, with St. Maximin and that front line striker. But there's another bully, a better version of Rondon that's out there, and he plays for Atalanta. His name's Duvan Zapata.
Yeah, I saw him against Man United. He destroyed Man United.
He is a bully. He is an absolute bully. He's fast. He's strong. He's good in the air. He's got a great shot on him. And you know what? He's playing for a team that isn't elite. That if you put the money down, if you said, bang, here's 25, here's 30 million, here's 35 million, they would sell him. And he would want to come into this project. And for me, he's a player that's not out there. He's not out there because I think if we're going to get a striker, I think we're going to go into Europe. I don't think we'll go into the Premier League. I think your defenders and your midfielders are more likely to be British based. But someone like him he's just a bully, and he's someone that could cause havoc to defenders and allow someone like Wilson to nick in and nick goals here and there. It would just I just think any one of those two strikers would be ideal. And then you know what? I think we could get either one of them in January.
Yeah, I was looking at that game and I thought, look, this guy's decent. He's causing what's his name, Maguire problems. Do you remember that a few seasons ago we were linked with that Swiss guy, Breland Boller?
Yeah. He's still playing in Germany. I can't remember what team he's playing for. He's still playing in Germany. I can't remember what team he's playing for, but I know he's dipped off form like in the last few years. He's not been at the same level, but still he's a talented player. Rapid, very, very fast. Rapid, got a good finish on him, but maybe he's just stayed in Germany too long. You know what? We also, me and you, Chris, we talked about Marcus Taran, didn't we?
Yes.
From Mönchengladbach.
Mönchengladbach, yeah.
Talented French striker, very, very good. Big, strong, fast, can score a goal. Playing in Germany as well. Playing for a team that's not as fashionable as some of the other German teams, like your Dortmunds and your Bayern Munich. So there could be a possibility we could snatch him away in January. There are options out there, and I bet who's to say that they're not looking at players that we haven't even talked about yet.
Do you know there's another player who I like as well? He plays in La Liga. I've been watching him recently, and they're flying at the moment. He's called Isaac, and he plays for Sociedad. He would be good, wouldn't he?
Brilliant. Ex-Dortmund academy as well. So he's technically very good. He's a Sweden international.
Yeah. He's only young as well. Tall, quick.
He's been dubbed as the guy to replace Ibrahimovic. Is the Swedish main guy. 100%. Very, very talented player. Chris has put in the chat Calvert-Lewin.
I seen that.
I'm sorry.
I don't like Calvert-Lewin.
I don't rate him.
Sorry, Chris.
Apologies.
Funny name, but
great shout. I don't think Everton would release him. I think he'd have the English tax on him as a striker.
Costs so much.
Crazy
definitely.
money.
I speak to a lot of Blues and Reds, and a few of my blue mates like him, and a few blue mates don't. And all the Reds, and this isn't them just being horrible, they all love the fact he plays for Everton because they all say he's very fortunate to be in that number 9 role. And if you look at all his goals, I think when Carlo come in, Carlo Ancelotti, apparently he told Calvert-Lewin, don't take more than one touch, just hit it. And to be fair, he was banging the goals in. But I think partly that is down to the fact that outside of hitting the target, there's not much to his game. No. And I don't think there is.
He can be easily marshalled.
Do you know, I saw a rumour, I think I was scrolling through Sky Sports newsfeed the other day. Do you remember, I saw Mikel Mourinho's name coming up as a potential Liverpool signing. Do you know, I always liked him,
I did.
I was upset to see him go. He's a good player, and he plays for Spain national team.
Bring him home. Bring him home.
Yeah. And he's a Sociedad, isn't he? He's bossing it in Sociedad.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect, Seb. Perfect signing. Getting him in January. Pay 30 million. Yes, we sold him for 10. We brought him for 5. Bring him back for 30. You get 6-7 years out of him. Absolutely spot on.
We got him on loan and we made him permanent. It wasn't even an option. I think we made it permanent even before January. We just signed him.
Yeah, he was that good. And honestly, he's from when he played for us, he's gone up about 3 or 4 notches since.
Yeah, he's superb.
You guys have talked about the fact that he's in the Spanish squad. He comes back the finished article if he comes back into our midfield. He's the playmaker that Chris talked about earlier that we would have in that midfield. The technical ability on the ball. And you know what? You know who would go perfect behind him? Not Isaac Hayden. Someone else that plays in Spain as well. William Carvalho.
Yes.
Experienced defensive midfielder. Another bully. We need some bullies in our team.
To talk about Mönchengladbach as well, Pete, and Seb, I'm sure you're probably aware of him. I've been following him for the last couple of seasons. Have you heard of Zakaria from Mönchengladbach?
The name rings a bell. Is he Belgian?
Plays in midfield, mate. He's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
No, he's Swiss. He's Swiss.
What's his first name? Is it like Dennis Zakaria or something?
I can't think what his first name is. I'll have to search. But he's an absolute powerhouse. Yeah, I love you, mate. But I'm sorry, I completely disagree with that. I mean, let's see what happens. While these shows keep going on, mate, we can keep watching, we can keep seeing. But I don't agree with that at all.
January is going to be mad for this show, I think.
It is. It's going to be great, isn't it? It is going to be great.
So just one thing, guys, I need to get off my chest. Like, you see the whole Jamal Lewis situation. Like, what do the coaches know that we don't? Like, because it's so easy to say, put a defender in his position, but like, play him. But there must be a good reason why he's not playing. Has he got personal problems off the pitch or something? Like, why is he not getting any minutes? Just not playing at all.
It's a good question, and you know, if it is personal stuff, could be homesickness. It's the first time he's played away from Norwich. Norwich was the team he came through. You know, it is Dennis Zakaria. Yeah, I know.
Dennis Zakaria.
But
it doesn't make any sense why he's not even getting 10, 15 minutes here or there.
I don't think Steve Bruce trusted him. If I'm honest, I don't think he trusted him in that position. But Steve Bruce didn't play the type of formation, the type of football that suits Jamal Lewis's game. Now, if you look at the history and you look at the body of work that Eddie Howe has created at Bournemouth, his fullbacks come on. You look at Charlie Daniels, for example. Charlie Daniels, by all means, like without disrespecting him, was an average player. But he made him at times look into a world beater.
Scored some belter goals, didn't he, Pete? Some belter goals.
And he did. And to be fair, Jamal Lewis has got that in his locker too.
Yeah, he has.
If you've got a formation that suits an attacking fullback, for me personally, I think he comes in and he smashes it. I think he comes in under Eddie Howe and he smashes it. He's an athlete. He's got great technique in his cross. He can score a goal. I think he's a perfect mould. I really do. And it'll be interesting to see because I think he's absolutely spot on. But if he comes through and if Eddie Howe comes in and he doesn't play him, then that says to me that you're right. There is something going on.
Yeah, then he's the problem.
Yeah.
I'd be majorly surprised if Matt Ritchie starts at left back against Brentford. I'd be really surprised. Because, as you say, Pete, I think we've seen in videos that we've watched of Eddie Howe, he relies heavily on his wing backs. Manquillo, as I said before, I think he does a job. Can we improve on Manquillo? Absolutely. But for now, I think he's all right. He's not a problem area. I was a bit disappointed actually he was left out. Has he been left out the last 2 games? I think he has, hasn't he? Or is it just the game gone? Right, yeah. So because I was a bit disappointed he didn't play against Brighton because I thought he'd been one of our better players. But yeah, Jamal Lewis, he ticks all the Eddie Howe boxes, doesn't he? You would think. So if he isn't playing at left back against Brentford, then yeah, there's got to be more to it, as Seb says.
Definitely.
That's a good shot from Yano as well. Anthony Robinson.
Yeah, good attacking fullback. Whether we look beyond that, because obviously he's playing really well at Fulham at the moment, and they're looking to smash the league. Whether we look beyond that,
I'd go all out for Lamptey as well, Pete.
You
all
love
out
him.
for him, man.
And you
Wow.
know, look, I may be being harsh here because it was his first game back for a while, but I didn't think he played that well. And I actually thought Matt Ritchie defended him quite well on Saturday. He's got all pace, but he never really beat him. He never really beat him or turned him over like he did ASM last season. So
it was them pockets of areas he kept getting in, Pete, though. Every time the ball went to their right wing, so our left back position, he was always there causing an issue. I agree. I thought Matt Ritchie dealt with him pretty well, and he didn't cause that much of an issue. But like you say, first game back, and he just, whenever you look at that Brighton team, Lamptey always stands out, and if your right back standing out, that's screaming alarm bells to me. There must be something about him.
Oh, it would be great though, boys, if we went in January and just snapped him off Brighton. We came in and just took him out, in their wing and just brought him up to Newcastle. That would be
someone in the comments, Pete, said earlier, and we've said it many times ourselves. You know, we should be looking at clubs around us and picking their best players. And certainly for Brighton, him, Yves Bissouma.
I want
Ismail Assar. Yeah. Just go in with the money. Just go in and say, yeah, we'll have him. We'll have him. We'll have him. You put 3 or 4 good players in that team in January in certain positions, there's no reason why we can't kick on.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Right, boys, I'm going to have to leave it there. Seb, you've been absolutely spot on, mate. Thank you for waiting on. Obviously, waiting in the chat, and great points as always. Absolutely spot on. Please come and join us. Come and join us again for more chats, because really appreciate your views on Newcastle. But you definitely deserve one of these.
Stuff to do after work, man. But yeah, definitely.
No problem. Top man, Seb. You take care. Speak to you soon.
Man, see you later, guys.
Take care, mate.
Great show again. These get longer and longer because the guests and the guys that come on and share their opinions,
they're great.
Are absolutely spot on. Really enjoyed that show tonight. I don't know about you, Chris, but yeah, just excited for what the future brings. Moving forward.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. No, Chris, don't take offense at that at all, mate. No, I mean, realistically, you're quite right. You know, Calvert-Lewin is probably realistic in terms of, you know, who we could possibly go for. I mean, he is Everton's number 1 striker, but again, money talks, doesn't it? And we all know that the strains and pressures that Everton are under for the financial fair play. So I think if you did slap 50 million on the table for Calvert-Lewin, you could probably get him. But for me, as Pete said, I think I'd look abroad for a striker, because I think there's so much talent out there that we could utilise. But yeah, to answer your question, Pete, it's been a really good show tonight, and do you know what? I've really enjoyed talking about transfers, and the people in the chat were saying, "Oh, it's great to see us getting excited about the transfers." But how long has it been since like a window's come up and we've been going, "Oh, we could get him, oh, we could get him, oh, we could get him." It's like being back in the Keegan and Robson days, isn't it? Where like nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible.
It's the beauty of actually knowing that signings are going to come in. That's the one thing that the ownership have said. We are going to strengthen in January, so we are expecting new players to come in. It's just a case of we're now talking about not if we're going to get a player, but how many we're going to get. That's the great thing. And I know for a fact once it hits December and we're on this show and we're unloaded and we're it's when it's transfer season throughout January. You guys in the chat, we're just going to be buzzing about it. There's going to be transfers, speculations left, right, and centre. We're going to be linked with the absolute best in the world. We're going to be linked with the absolute worst in the world, and it's going to be great. It's going to be
and everyone in between.
Yeah, because at some point we are going to get new faces in. We just need to make sure now that we get the points on the board that gives us a fighting chance for that second half of the season.
And it's the organisation as well, Pete, isn't it? It's the fact that, we've known under Charnley that, we get linked with a player and then it's like, we're trying to get him over the line, or, the usual lines that we get spun. Oh, the talks broke down, or we couldn't agree personal terms, or someone came in. With these owners, it wouldn't surprise me if on the 1st of January or the 2nd of January, whatever whenever the bank holiday isn't, it wouldn't surprise me if they just got bang three new players. It just wouldn't surprise me because they're organised, they know what they want, and they'll go out and get them, especially with a director of football leading it.
Definitely, I'm excited to see whether that materialises in the next couple of weeks. Whether they bring that through, that will show a real intent, and then you've got a couple of months, a month and a half to really kind of hone in and say, right, this is who we want in January, and to get them hopefully lined up early doors. So, be very, very interesting to see how that materialises. But Chris, always a pleasure, never ever a chore. Great to be on with you again. Thank you to everyone in the chat. This chat is amazing. I love it. The conversations, the questions, the opinions on there. Respect it all. Both myself and Chris respect it all. It's great to chat to you guys. Now, what we want you to do is go and just flip over to Loaded Mag, where where Martin and Ben Jacobs are talking all things Newcastle. So until next week, you guys take care. Have a fantastic week, and look, don't forget that we are the richest club in the world. Have a good one. Take care, guys.
Take care, guys.
Head back with the critics of time.